Hi, it's Tony Ozanne. On this episode of the Small Interview Project, I'll be talking to Malcolm Wybrow from Wybrow and Associates. Today on the Small Interview Project, I'm with Malcolm Wybrow from Wybrow and Associates. How are you today, Malcolm?
Not bad, Tony.
That's good. What do you do at Wybrow and Associates, Malcolm?
My function in the organisation, Wybrow and Associates, is I help people get their personal insurance needs, and our concern is to get the right amount of money to the right people at the right time to give them options. Whether that be replacing a missing breadwinner or getting assistance for people who have injuries or illnesses where they need medication or support.
Okay, excellent. So you're just focusing on the personal side of insurances?
Just the personal side.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And why did you go into business in the first place?
Well, I've been a financial planner with a large organisation, and one of the things that concerned me with that is that I was beholden to them to recommend their products.
Right.
Where I am at the moment, I give advice irrespective of the products that are used, and the products are merely put around a strategy and a need for a person.
Okay, so
sometimes I use 3 different insurers because it's appropriate to that situation.
Okay, so at Wybrow and Associates, you have that flexibility to go with any company you wish for the product?
We're totally independent and we're not aligned to any particular product provider.
Okay, excellent. Well, it makes it certainly better from the client's perspective anyway.
And it's more enjoyable from my point of view as well.
Yeah, you're not selling the same old thing. If you had your time over again, would you do anything differently?
Well, if I had my time over again, I think I'd find mentors quicker than I have,
right,
and I'd do more networking. Despite what people might think, I'm an introvert, and going out and meeting new people is not something that I'm totally comfortable with.
Right.
But over a period of time, I've become a situational extrovert.
Yep.
In that I know I need to do it, so I get out and I do it.
Okay.
But I think it's important that people know who you are,
sure,
and have an understanding of what you do.
Okay. And how's the industry changed as far as like now? There seems to be a lot more players on TV offering all these apparent cheap and nasty sort of products. How is that different?
I wouldn't say cheap and nasty. I think more usually they're more expensive than the products you can get from someone such as myself.
Okay.
And I think there is value in people going and doing things anonymously.
Yep.
And going and doing things quickly obviously appeals to people.
Sure.
But the reality is that when you come to claim, if you do, there can be some nasty surprises. And the thing that happens if you come to someone such as me or a normal financial planner is that you don't get surprises at time of claim. It may be a lengthier process to go and fill forms in at the time, but ultimately it's the greatest safety that you can get.
Sure. Okay. So the simple, quick over the phone approach is not always the best one for when you need to make that claim.
It might be appropriate for some people, but the reality is, how do you know how good it is unless you have a comparison?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. How long have you been in business at Wybrow and Associates?
About 6 years.
6 years. Okay. And what's your biggest challenge, either currently or in the past?
The biggest challenge is really to keep on top of legislative and technical changes in the business, but that's not unusual for most of us. Beyond that, I think the biggest challenge is to try and get inside the heads of the people who come to see me,
yep,
so that I can give better and better advice. So it's really a case of asking good questions and having support systems, whether they be software or whatever,
sure,
or simpler ways of filling in forms so that people have a better experience.
Right, okay. And how about working on the business versus in the business? How do you maintain that balance?
Well, I'm a lucky person in that my job is my hobby as well as my vocation.
Okay.
So I actually enjoy trying to find better ways of doing things. And one of the things that I've done, for instance, in the last 12 months is devoted a lot of time to trying to improve the processes that I go through to make things better, because ultimately it's better for the client,
right,
and it's ultimately better for me.
So how have you streamlined that, or what have you done differently?
It's trying to find a simpler way of filling forms in so that I have a generic form which can be used to download information to other forms, okay, things like that. Because if you use 3 insurers, you're potentially having to fill out 90 pages of information, which in most cases means that people throw their hands up and run out the door, yeah, even though if they went through the process, whatever way, yeah, they're better off.
Okay, so it's more paperwork than buying a house. So if you can streamline that, that's a big advantage for your clients. But how do you communicate that? Like, how do you actually use that as a benefit unless somebody's come to you and going through the sign-up process? Or
I don't think people want to know that they could have filled in 90 pages
No.
versus 30. All I think that they want to do is that they do something simply.
Yep.
They know that they're protected and go out the door. I mean, if I get into my motor car, I know how the internal combustion engine works. I know how a manual gearbox works. I've got no idea really how an automatic gearbox works. I don't care, so long as I drive safely and whatever.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the same with people who come to see you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And my last question for you, Malcolm, is what advice would you have for a newcomer coming into business?
I think the big thing is to ask for help.
Yep.
And I think the other thing is, I think anybody who goes into business cold, I think is looking for trouble. I think the thing is, if you wanted to start a business in Canberra, I think one of the things would be go and find the best person in Sydney or Brisbane or Adelaide or Perth and work with them for 3 to 6 months. And be constantly asking questions after that period of time as to people in business, what's worked for them and things like that. Because I think very often, if you can bring in processes and procedures that make things simpler, it benefits you. One of my friends is an acupuncturist who worked for somebody who wasn't a great acupuncturist when he first came out, but he said their systems were so wonderful that he said what he learnt in the 3 to 6 months that he was there, it has gone with him into perpetuity.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. No, that's good. That's good advice. Good advice. Okay, Malcolm. Look, thank you very much for taking part in the Small Interview project. And
Thank you very much for interviewing me.
Cheers.